And as the writer of your own script, it's like something your baby and you imagine a certain way. And then you're like, what the hell? You change the complete vibe. So I can see it working for a lot of people, but it definitely, of course, not working for everyone because it's very much its own thing.
Lisa! Lisa! What have you done to me? Can't do this.
Sorry. Wrong number.
What's up, YouTube? Jab Eye Movies here, and you're watching
Fresh Releases.
My name is James.
My name's Blaise.
And today, Shudder finally released Suitable Flesh, so that's what we're going to be chatting about.
Too much?
Suitable flesh.
Suitable Flesh tells the story of a psychiatrist who becomes obsessed with one of her young patients, who she later discovers is linked to an ancient curse. So, James, I felt like this was the longest wait for any Shudder original we've ever had. Like, I felt like, I don't know if it was just because this played at a couple film festivals and there was kind of talk there, and then we knew it was coming to Shudder, we knew it was a Shudder original, and it just felt like it took like at least 6 months for this to come out, where earlier this month, I think I saw a trailer for Destroy All Neighbors, and it was literally on Shudder the week after I saw the trailer. So I was just shocked at that. I'm like, okay, this is literally the two sides to Shudder. You know, you have the film that takes forever to finally get to the platform, and then the film that gets dropped like it's hot. But yeah, anyways, James, what do you think of this film?
Yeah, so it's a movie that's been playing in LA for I think 2, maybe 3 months already. It's not playing anywhere currently, maybe one theater that I'm not familiar with or anything, but I really wanted to check it out in theaters, but I just knew it's a Shudder movie. It's going to go on Shudder eventually. And yeah, we've talked about how this happens here and there, and it's kind of annoying and frustrating at times just because Shudder, usually when they release a trailer, it's out like the next week or something. But we do know that here and there they have a movie that they really believe in, that they want to release in theaters for a little bit of time. Also simultaneously put it out for on demand possibly. And then, you know, just like we got those kind of circumstances. So I totally understand. But here's the thing, though. I haven't heard enough people talking about it. The only person I've really seen talk about it is really just Joe Lynch on Letterboxd. I follow the guy, and he's actually one of my favorite people that I follow. So yeah, he's the director of this movie. There's a lot of fun backstory within this movie that I'm sure we'll get into. But yeah, coming off of just seeing From Beyond for the first time a couple weeks ago at the New Beverly, this is fun to watch just a few weeks after, because it's technically not so much a sequel, but just like in vein and kind of like a spiritual sequel or the end of like a spiritual trilogy of movies. So I enjoyed it. There's some things that kind of found at fault a couple times that we can get into, but more on the technical aspect. But story-wise, structure, performances, and everything, I really enjoyed it. And just Joe Lynch, like, I love seeing how long he's come and how far he's come as a director, and just seeing him just get better and better with each film. What are your thoughts?
So I have to say, this is a movie that I don't know if it, like, I was so hyped up because, you know, this is proposed to be like Stuart Gordon, like one of his like last movies, essentially. At one point there was a script floating around where he was going to direct it, and this is going to be one of his movies. So it really does feel like Joe Lynch channels Stuart Gordon in this film, and feels like almost an homage to a lot of those full moon style movies, especially in the score. A lot of that stuff I really like. But when it comes to Joe Lynch, I like a lot of his like kind of previous films. You know, obviously Mayhem, I think, is probably going to be on the top of my list for him, where this, I feel like it might have been like a backstep for him to make, you know, that cheesy, pulpy, you know, B movie. Because if you look at on Letterboxd, I mean, if you have to scour through all the 5-star reviews that Joe left himself on his own movie, if you look through all that, you see a lot of negative reviews, a lot of people that really didn't get the tone, a lot of people that dislike this movie. There are the people that enjoyed this movie, but it seems like a lot of people didn't really get, you know, kind of the fact that this was, you know, his love letter to Stuart Gordon, his homage to those full moon features and stuff like that, where, yeah, I liked it. But at the same time, like, is this maybe like a career backstep in a way where I don't feel a lot of people are going to understand that? And that's coming from somebody who kind of like enjoys those full moon features, or, you know, obviously the Stuart Gordon movies. I think a lot of people do like Stuart Gordon movies, but a lot of his really cheesier full moon stuff, I don't think a lot of people are going to get the tone there. And I think maybe that tone would be more appreciated in a movie, like in a movie theater. But like on Shudder, if you're just at home alone, like looking through even the Shudder reviews, if you look through any of the Shudder reviews on any movie, every movie is polarizing. There's never a movie where it's like all 5 stars. It's only 5s and 1s on all Shudder movies. It's like, this wasn't scary, or this had like a cool vibe or something. But it's a lot of the 1 stars like, this wasn't scary. It's like, okay, yeah, you like horror movies, probably 90% of the stuff that you see is not going to be scary. But yeah, I just wonder if this was the right move for him going forward. But I mean, I'm glad that he got to kind of indulge in that. And I think, you know, the film kind of is a little bit of a slog till it gets to a point, and when it really hits, like, I think it really does like a great service to Stuart Gordon.
Right, and I wish they kind of kept going, honestly, because it's really the final 20 minutes where it kind of feels more like a Stuart Gordon movie, because this movie is definitely very much its own thing. It does capitalize on overall just the out of experience body feeling that I assume all the Lovecraft stories are like, but that's kind of one of the main things of Reanimator and From Beyond, just like it kind of being like some kind of weird just body changing kind of event of some sort. And I was expecting like some kind of tentacles or like just like some kind of weird mutant creature from another dimension, and this movie's not that, actually, which very much caught me off guard. And maybe that's what some people expected, because this movie isn't really trying to be a Stuart Gordon movie. Also, like, I'm not one to say I know really anything about Brian De Palma. I've really only seen just Carrie, Scarface, and I think I'm pretty sure he did Untouchables, but that's I think those are the only movies I've seen by Brian De Palma. But he's got a long list of movies like License to Kill, I think that one's called, or Dress to Kill. I have his page open right now. Like movies like that I know are like not necessarily like horror films, but still have that vibe, but also kind of like a horny aspect to it, or just a very sexual aspect. And this movie does go for that. And if you watch any of those previous movies I mentioned, like Reanimator or From Beyond, they're very heavy on their sexuality and like nudity. This movie also capitalizes on that, but just goes about it in a different way. Like those movies kind of felt sleazy 80s cheesiness, but still I enjoyed a lot of it because it kind of goes a more comedic tone, versus this movie is a little bit more, it's done tastefully and very serious, but very over the top, like a soap opera almost. So it was just an interesting vibe that caught me off guard and like was unexpected on my end, because I was expecting overall something to be like From Beyond and Reanimator, and this is kind of its own thing, but just it's very much like there was this certain class I took, or this certain project we had to do in film class, where you had to write a script but let someone else direct it. And as the writer of your own script, it's like something your baby, and you imagine a certain way, and then you're like, what the hell? You change the complete vibe. So I could see it working for a lot of people, but it definitely, of course, not working for everyone, because it's very much its own thing.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that. And it does feel like there's parts of this movie I feel like don't work very well. Specifically, it was a lot of the acting that's not Heather Graham, Barbara Crampton, and I forget who the coroner guy is, but he was hilarious. I loved it. I honestly wish he had more in it, because he was so funny. But I mean, it's just a little bit part. But yeah, like, I feel like everyone outside of those characters just was not really up to par, or maybe they were just buying in too much to that cheese. I mean, they sold that like full moon cheese. I bet I could, see these guys in a full moon style like B movie, but they kind of like, I don't know, dragged it down at points, especially in the beginning when you kind of get to that core of just, Barbara Crampton versus Heather Graham. That's when the movie is just firing on all cylinders. The body swapping is going back and forth. And although that wasn't, although that's lent a lot to your imagination in a way, because it's psychology really, it wasn't like, where we'd see Reanimator like a walking like corpse or something. I mean, yeah, you do have that in this movie, but at least that transformation from the, body to body doesn't really have as much of an, fantastic element to it, but it's still a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And I got to agree with kind of the performances. I mean, you kind of called out the person by not saying their name about who you thought was a bad actor. And I do kind of have to agree, like, Judah Lewis is, you know, is the next main character outside of Heather Graham. And I'd say his role is way bigger than Barbara Crampton still, of course. Yeah, I mean, while watching the movie, I was like, oh, this is like a fun role to be, because you're kind of playing 3 or 4 different characters, because playing himself, playing Heather Graham inside his body, playing his dad inside his body. So it's kind of a fun role to have, but just kind of like how the problems people had with Zachary Levi in Shazam Part 2 specifically is he didn't capture the vibe of the actual teenager that he's playing very well. He's just acting like a 9-year-old kid, but the character he's supposed to be playing is this 16-year-old. Is like, you guys didn't meet enough to capture the vibe perfectly. He's playing it almost as if like the script is just saying, oh, well, you got to pretend that there's this 40-year-old woman inside your body. I'm like, yeah, that is what he has to do, but got to spend time with Heather Graham to catch up on her mannerisms properly. And I'd say some of those moments like weren't, I think it was more with his father. I thought like, because his father was like way over the top with his scenes. I forget that actor's name, but I know he played the original Willard, and it's cool to see him around because I haven't seen him in movies in quite some time, but I've always thought he was a fine actor. But I thought that his character wasn't built enough, and the version that his son was playing of him just didn't match at all whatsoever.
Yeah, I can see that 100%. A lot of that kind of like beginning aspect for me just didn't really work, and he didn't help it because he was a huge part of the movie. Like, honestly, I think he's kind of I mean, Heather Graham's a big part of it, but there's even parts of the movie where Heather Graham isn't in it, and he's like kind of carrying all those scenes, and he's got a lot of heavy lifting to do. I just don't think he quite got it across the finish line, at least for me. But yeah, I think overall, like this, it's a bummer. I liked him in The Babysitter, and also Summer of '84. He was good in too. Yeah, I don't even remember. I thought this was a total new actor. I'll go and look that up. But yeah, I just didn't really work for me. But other than that, like, I thought that this movie had like just a cool vibe going into it. Like, it kind of gets there. It has, like you're saying, that Brian De Palma aspect, like, you know, the kind of like, it's a little bit more of a horror film than a thriller, but it has, you know, that sexy kind of noir thing. You're gonna put this thing on after midnight, and hopefully no one else is watching what you're watching, type of movie, and that was the fun in it. I think a lot of the people that are just gonna be slamming this with bad reviews didn't see the homage. It might not have worked for them, which is totally fine, and if something doesn't work for you, I mean, it just doesn't work for you. So but for me, yeah, I just really enjoyed this movie. I'm excited to see what Joe Lynch has to offer, you know, next. Right. Yeah. And I could also, for a movie that is very obviously low budget and stuff, like some stuff just comes off very cheesy at times. And I'd say it worked well in favor for the film, but just some of it kind of took me out. Like, I was like, oh, I really enjoyed these, you know, obvious green screen shots of like Heather Graham dreaming and falling down with the red reflection of lights onto the, you know, the parking lot that she's falling towards. That was fine, but then they'd show like her floating in the air falling, and I'm like, all right, we didn't need that CGI shot right there though and stuff. The other one is at least a vibe versus this one just looked bad and terrible. But yeah, like, you know, little things like that might have took me out at times, but I thoroughly enjoyed it and stuff, and it was like a nice little homage, because rest in peace Stuart Gordon, and I think I preferred this over From Beyond. Reanimator's top tier for me though, still, when it comes to Lovecraftian tales brought to the screen. I thought that movie just captures grotesqueness and comedy just like perfectly balanced and stuff. But yeah, I love Joe Lynch. I say check it out, but I know it's not for everyone for sure. So, you know, great way to help support the show. You can rent it on Amazon, or also you can check it. If you do that, be sure to check it out through our Amazon affiliate link. And then also, if you have Shudder, you can watch it there, and come back here to leave a comment telling us what you thought about the movie. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all of our latest updates. And speaking of updates, be sure to catch all our social media links down below. We got Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, as well as our own personal Letterboxd accounts. That'll conclude this week's episode. Tune in next week for a brand new video.